Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So I'm not going to really do any history or anything today, but I am going to kind of share this experience and this message, and then we'll get into some trucking tech. So so I had this so let me back up. I picked up a load from Tyson, and I talked about that in my last video. And you know, I told dispatch, hey, this isn't going to get delivered on time because the numbers just didn't work. And so they're like, okay, we'll let the customer know. So later on, they said, well, we're going to have to get this rescheduled, but let us know what your ETA is. So I pick up, but I knew I needed to go get fuel and I needed to stop and rest. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this truck stop that's really not in the it's the closest truck stop, but it's not even in the right direction. But I'm like, then I'll calculate how long it's going to take me to get to the 90. So I get there, it's about 8 o'clock on Saturday night. It's Monday morning, by the way. 8 o'clock on Saturday night. I sent a message. I said, here's what my ETA is. I hear nothing back. But I know that they need to make a new appointment. And I know that I can't just go to Walmart on a live unload and show up and be like, hey, unload my trailer. That doesn't work at Walmart. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I get a message from day dispatch. So now this is Sunday morning, and she's like, well, you need to get on the road. And I'm like, well, what am I getting on the road for? I mean, yeah, I wasn't at my 90, but I don't have an appointment. Like, how can I plan my day? And so I was like, okay, I'll get on the road. So I start down, I start heading up to Indiana. But I get on the phone and, I had to wait like 37 minutes before I could actually talk to her. And I'm like, so what am I doing here? She's like, well, we're waiting for Tyson to give us a new appointment. I'm like, okay, but no one acknowledged what my ETA is, and now that's not my ETA. And, I didn't get on the road because I thought I needed to sleep more than I needed to drive overnight when I didn't have an appointment. And she's like, well, we just want you to be making progress. I'm like, look, when you don't answer a message, when dispatch doesn't answer a message, that's my cue to do whatever I want within reason, right? So if I tell you what my ETA is and you don't tell me what a new appointment time is, then don't be surprised if I'm like, oh, I'm just going to park and hang out. Or, oh, I'm going to go stop at a national park on the way. I mean, seriously, if I don't have an appointment at Walmart, they're not going to take me. It doesn't matter how fast I get there. It's not going to happen. So here it is, Monday morning. What time is it? It's, I guess it's around 11 now. Yeah, I still don't have an appointment. I sent him and my fleet manager is actually on vacation this week, so all of the underlings are filling in. And don't get me wrong, the guy that responded to my message this morning is top shelf. I mean, he's good and he's easy to work with and stuff. But now I'm, because sales accepted a job, and don't get me wrong, I bear some responsibility because I should have been like, man, that's just not going to work, because Tyson doesn't turn crap around in a hurry. Like, you get there, the trailers aren't loaded most of the time, so it's like, I have to wait, and knowing that going in is fine, but then on the other end, they had made a really, really super optimistic appointment. So I should have just known. But anyway, So my message to dispatchers is, if you don't answer us, then you can't say jack about what we do when you haven't answered us. You want to go radio silent? Fine. Then I'm going to be independent steaming, to use some military terms. So let's talk about tech a little bit. A couple of things that I've found in the media. The first one is, and I've talked about, self-driving trucks, autonomous trucks before. And so there's this company, TuSimple, like TU, Simple, that has these autonomous trucks that are driving on the highways in Arizona and I think maybe Texas. Well, there was a TuSimple truck recently that had a safety driver, they call it, in Tucson, and apparently he was up to highway speed, like 65 miles an hour, and he went to engage basically the autopilot. And as soon as he did, the truck just like made an immediate left turn. And when I say left turn, I don't mean like changing lanes left turn. I mean like we're turning left at an intersection left turn, but at 65 miles an hour. The driver, who probably crapped his pants, he immediately grabbed the wheel, but not before the truck struck a like Jersey wall or some divider barrier. Now, the funny thing about this, so I'm reading this article, and the funny thing, I'm reading TuSimple's statement about this incident, right? They're like, well, the truck didn't have an accident. It merely, the front tire made contact, and there was some damage to the front quarter panel. I'm like, you had an accident, bro. Your truck had an accident. Any company with a crash department would call that a preventable accident. Okay, and it's probably DOT reportable, because I'm sure it reportable. Sounded weird. Since it smashed into like state property or property of a construction company, so it wasn't just like, I don't know. But the point is that they had an accident, and so then they were like, oh well, he should have rebooted the system, and that left turn was a command from like 2 minutes earlier, which is a lifetime in automated trucks. I'm like, okay, yeah, we got all that. But here's the interesting thing. Carnegie Mellon University is probably the most renowned college university when it comes to like definitely cyber stuff, but also AI, and they made comments on this that was in the story. They're like, this is not okay. This is not, like, the fact that this could even happen says this system is not ready for the road. They basically said that this system is not roadworthy. And TuSimple had issued a statement, and they voluntarily reported to NHTSA and to the Arizona DOT. The FMCSA is now investigating, but they said they grounded their fleet. And I think they used the word grounded, which was kind of funny, because I'm like, I didn't know these trucks flew, but whatever. So I've been very pessimistic, if that's the right word, or cynical about automated trucks and stuff. And here's an example of, even when there is a safety driver, he wasn't able to prevent an accident. And something catastrophic happened at 65 miles an hour. They're lucky there wasn't a car between the truck and the wall, because then there might have been a fatality, and there certainly would have been damage and injuries. That was just sheer luck. So I'm not very bullish on these automated trucks. I think, you think about all the computers in your life and how often they don't function as advertised. Well, you know, it's one thing when your Qualcomm craps the bed or your cell phone won't work or something like that. But it's quite another when a truck that's presumably even empty is going to weigh around, you know, 35,000 pounds can just like whip the wheel to the left. You know, I mean, you know, even somebody that's like super conscientious, it has their hands on the wheel and everything. When the truck does that, you know, there's a huge potential for disaster. So I'm just not sold on this idea, and I think it'll be interesting to see what FMCSA's, you know, findings are. But I do think it's weird that they would say, oh, the driver didn't reboot. Like, why would he have to? He was already driving down the road. Why would he have to reboot the system? You know, because then it's not automatic. It's not automated, right? It's just, you know, it's just your Nintendo. You know, it needs to be rebooted. So anyway, that's one tech thing. The other tech thing that I had not caught wind of this before, but apparently, at least in Kentucky, they have rolled out a system that is, it looks in cabs, so it's basically the same as a, you know, driver-facing camera, because it is a driver-facing camera. It's just external. But when you pull into a weigh station in Kentucky, pretty much the second you get off the highway, so the second you hit the ramp to go into the weigh station, they are videotaping you with high-powered cameras that can see into your cab. Now, I don't know if they're infrared, but what they're doing is looking in to see seatbelt violations, cell phone usage. They said they can even identify hours of service violations. I guarantee they're looking to see if your dash is, you know, like covered with debris or there's something irregular behind you. You know, like the person in the bunk is knocking back a 40. I mean, or cleaning their 40. Could be anything, right? And you know, so they have already, and what they do is these DOT officers, when they see one of those things that they don't care for, that's against the law, whatever, they not only pull you in for an inspection, and you know you're going to get a level 1 at that point, but they're also going to cite you. So you're pulling in and you don't have your seatbelt on, you're going to get a seatbelt ticket, and you're going to get an inspection. So, and you know, if you're out of compliance for hours of service or whatever, a lot of, they said they've also found people with not wearing corrective lenses, because what they're doing, I guess, is using, I don't know, facial recognition to look at driver's licenses to see what restrictions you have. So corrective lenses, people with the wrong license. So somebody's got a CDL, you know, A, but they don't have a doubles and triples endorsement, but they're pulling some, you know, double or triple. I guess probably only doubles in Kentucky. They're going to get cited for that. So, you know, and I've mentioned this before, it's been a while, but I had a DOT officer. She was very lovely, and she did like a level 3 on me in Mississippi one day. But while I was, you know, I always chat people up when they're like looking at stuff. I do try to distract them. But it was just her and I. There were no other trucks at the weigh station or anything. And I was just talking to her, and I was like, so what makes you pull somebody in? And one of the things she told me was, if you're speeding when you, like, you know how you pull in and then shortly after you're completely off the highway, you'll see a speed limit sign. Now, sometimes they're just like the exit signs, and they're in yellow or amber or whatever you want to call that. But then sometimes they're the black and white ones, that's the lawful speed limit. And she said, if you're, you know, if it says 20 miles an hour and you cross that threshold at like 40, you know, maybe you get slowed down by the time you get up towards the scale, but they'll pull you in for speeding farther out. So just more to watch out for. So for the guys that hate the inward facing cameras, if you pull into a weigh station, I guess Kentucky has 13 weigh stations on interstates. If you pull into a weigh station in Kentucky, just know that they're going to be shooting a camera into your cab, and there's going to be somebody looking inside your cab while you're rolling up to the scale. So, you know, just be on the straight and narrow. I guess that's the best answer. And by the way, I don't even, like, if I'm on the phone, some drivers, I don't know who, they must be on the psychic hotline, because they're talking to people constantly. Like, I see them, they're talking, they're walking across the parking lot, like everywhere you go, they're never not having a conversation. Me, I talk sparingly on the phone. I mean, I do call people if I need to or whatever, but even if I'm doing nothing wrong, I always get off a call when I pull into a weigh station. Why? Because when you pull into a weigh station, you should always roll your window down so you can hear instructions from the scale operator. And yeah, you don't want to have, you know, it's not a good look if the scale operator's trying to tell you something over the loudspeaker and you're yakking to the psychic hotline and you don't obey their instructions. That's not going to go well. So I say, if you're on the phone in any capacity, just hang up when you pull into a weigh station, because that's the time when you really need to be on your A game, when somebody's looking straight at you. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the last video was a little long and it took forever to load up, but maybe it's because my phone is getting old. I don't know, but I thought this is how dumb I am. I thought I had an iPhone 10 and my son was like, "That's an iPhone 8." So there you go, me and technology. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.